As an honourable and highly respected chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, the Salamanders are champions of humanity, dedicated to the stoic defence of the Imperium and the burning of traitors, heretics and aliens. In this video, we'll be showing you how to paint a Space Marine Terminator in the colours of the virtuous Salamanders. We'll be painting efficiently, so you'll be able to get your Salamanders ready to defend the Imperium on the battlefield in no time at all. And by following this guide, you can easily transfer the techniques shown to any of the Salamanders in your collection. You'll have a whole army ready before you know it. If you're new to painting, you can check out the Citadel Colour Painting Essentials videos to learn all about paints and techniques. The paints I've used are on the screen right now. These are the colours of the Salamanders, but remember, you can paint your miniatures however you like. Also on the screen right now is additional equipment we've used, but feel free to use whatever brushes you're most comfortable with. The first thing we need to do is undercoat the miniature, and for this we've chosen to use Chaos Black, as we'll be wanting some shadows on the armour. You'll also need a pot of Abaddon Black to hand. This will help us out if we need to tidy up any mistakes later on. We'll start by base coating the armour with Caliban Green. We'll thin it down with a bit of water, and use the best brush size for the certain areas on the model. I've used a large base brush for the first coat, then for the second coat I've used a medium base brush, to get all of those smaller areas in harder to reach places. We'll just need a couple of thin coats to build up the colour over the black undercoat. This Terminator might look a bit dark right now, but the next colour will really brighten up that armour. Now we'll paint the armour panels with Warpstone Glow. We'll be keeping those recesses in Caliban Green if we can, and you don't have to paint the top of the Power Fist or the shoulder pads either. You might need 2 to 3 thin coats to fully cover over, and we can always go back and add some Caliban Green into those recesses with a small layer brush. Just make sure that the paint is thinned and we let each layer dry to avoid lumps. If you want a quicker result, you can always dry brush this colour on instead, but you could get a dusty or streaky texture if you apply it too heavily, so the choice is fully yours. Next we'll apply lead belcher to the weapons, piping, helmet details, back vents and any targeting array on the Terminator. A couple of thin coats applied with a small base brush will give us a smooth and quick coverage over the undercoat. For smaller details, you can always switch to a small layer brush to avoid any smudging into the other colours. With the silver details dry, we can move on to Retributor armour for the gold chest eagle and any relics or iconography on the model. Just like with lead belcher, we want to apply it in a few thin coats. By using a small layer brush, we can avoid smudging the gold onto the armour. If you do, that's totally fine. Just leave it to dry and tidy up with Warpstone Glow or Caliban Green. When you're done painting with metallics, it's time to change our paint water, so we can avoid getting any metal flakes into our next colours. Now we'll apply Corvus Black to the shoulder pads, undersuit, Power Fist plating and the gun casing. Just like with the rest of our base paints we've been using, we'll thin it down and apply it in multiple coats, as we don't want the green to show through this colour. You can also use this to fill in the lens area on the helmet and targeting array for colours later on. With the black dry, we can move on to Grey Seer for the iconic Crux Terminatus on the shoulder and the knee. Just make sure we apply enough coats to cover over the green and black armour, and use a brush that is suitable for the size of the crux. Here I'm using a small base brush, but you could also use a small layer brush if that's more comfortable. Next we'll be painting the parchments with Wraithbone. We'll be using the same methods as we have done with the rest of our base paints, and just be careful not to smudge it onto the green armour. With our light colours now applied, we can move on to something more vibrant. Now we'll add Troll Slayer Orange for the lenses on the helmet and the targeting array. You can also use this colour for the wax purity seals as well. As this is a layer paint, you might find that you need 2 to 3 thin coats to cover over the other colours. We'll be using a small layer brush for these details, as they are very small and surrounded by other colours that we've just painted. Next we'll use Nuln Oil in 2 ways. First we'll use it straight from the pot for the lead belcher and Retributor armour details. Then we'll thin down the shade with a drop of water and apply it to the Wraithbone, Grey Seer and Troll Slayer Orange details. With all of these details, we don't want to overload them. We just want a nice light shade in those recesses. You can stop right here and you have a great battle ready Terminator, or you can add a simple highlight of Moot Green to the armour. Just roll your brush on the palette to create a point and control the paint on your brush. This really brings those sharp edges of the plates out from the nice dark recesses, and you can really add that finishing touch to your whole army. You don't have to highlight every edge or piece of armour, just pick out the most visible or prominent to give the illusion where light would hit those areas. Now our Salamander's Terminator is finished, we can add a little bit more flair to the iconic flame details on the Power Fist. We'll make the flame base by using Mephiston Red. We'll thin out our paint and start with 3 wiggly lines, 1 longer in the middle and 2 shorter on the sides. Try to get those 2 shorter lines mirrored. Then you can fill in the gaps with the paint as well, so they all join up together at the bottom of the Power Fist. Then we'll build up the colour with Troll Slayer Orange, but this time we'll paint less of the flame though, starting a little lower down. Just remember to keep your paint thin and use the smallest brush you have, and you can always tidy up those lines with a little bit of Mephiston Red afterwards. And to finish it off, we'll go even lower with Phalanx Yellow. As the 3 colours have been thinned down, they should sit on top of each other with no lumps and slightly blend into each other. But don't worry if they seem slightly blocky, as the flames will stand out on the model and will look great with the whole unit. And there we are, your Salamander's Terminator is now complete, ready to defend the Imperium with fire and steel. You can now go and base your model and apply any relevant transfers. We've used Modern Earth to base our miniature, and if you would like to learn more about technical paints, we've got a video all about them. For more tutorials, tips and tricks, check out citadelcolour.com or head to your local Warhammer store where our amazing staff will be happy to help. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video and we'll see you next time. Bye bye!